Welcome to Steel City Growth. I'm your host, Bill Ildenfritz. Each week, we'll explore the passions, expertise, and experiences of business owners and founders in the greater Pittsburgh area. Steel City Growth is proudly sponsored by Murphy Business of Pittsburgh, committed to providing exceptional services to meet all your business needs. Let's dive in.
Leadership isn't about rank, titles, or authority. It's about developing people. And I think General Colin Powell said it best when he said, leadership is the art of accomplishing more than the science.
Good morning. Randy, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
How are you today? How's everything going?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful Friday morning here in Georgia, and I'm living the dream, hoping it doesn't become a nightmare.
That's true. So, Ray, take a second, if you don't mind, and introduce yourself. Give me a quick little snapshot bio of yourself, and we'll kind of start there.
Okay, so I'm Randy McElwee, and together with my son, I own Gracie Jiu Jitsu Athens in Athens, Georgia. It's a jiu-jitsu academy that we've been, maintaining as a family business for the last 20 years. And along with that, I own 3 other businesses, one of which is Going Commando Success Coaching, where I work with other businesses and help small business owners develop their business. I base all that from my time that I spent in the military. I spent 23 years in Army Special Forces. And so I translate a lot of those military lessons into the application for businesses. And that way I can help business owners without them having to enlist and go off to fight an enemy abroad.
Yes. I served in the military. It trains you a lot. Nothing like you did, but that's amazing. So first of all, thank you for your service. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your service, and thanks for having me on.
Yes, definitely. So did you, thinking back, in time, little Randy, did you always know you'd be growing and running a business or businesses in your case?
Well, I think I had symptoms of entrepreneurial addiction from an early age, but it was always at odds with my compulsion to serve in the military. And so I always wanted to kind of have my own business, but I didn't know what that business would be. And, I at the same time, I had a big pull towards working in the military and doing that job. So it was always kind of at odds, but it was always there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, what have you learned from jiu-jitsu? What has jiu-jitsu taught you about life and about business?
Okay, great question. So jiu-jitsu teaches humility, patience, and persistence, and lessons every business owner needs. On the mat, it's just like in business, you're constantly tested, your weaknesses get exposed, your ego gets checked, and the only way forward is discipline, practice, and willingness to adapt under pressure and to keep going. It is the epitome of the infinite game, just like business. And I've learned that you can't kid yourself. Size matters, but position and leverage beat size and strength. The same way that smart systems and strategy overcome brute force in business efforts. And, you don't have to be the biggest company in the market if you know how to use leverage, timing, and precision, and you can outmaneuver giants. A pawn can take out a king, and that's the beauty of it all. And just like jiu-jitsu in business, you can't fake skill or success. You have to earn it through time, sweat, and consistent reps. When the pressure's on, you don't invent new tactics. You fall back on fundamentals that you've trained into muscle memory. And the mat is a mirror for leadership and entrepreneurship. If you want to succeed, you need to practice. You need patience, adaptability, and the courage to keep showing up no matter how tough the opponent or the market looks.
Of that perspective. And I can tell you, I just got my brown belt, but I will tell you, practice, and remembering those moments, and it relates. I mean, in business, it's the exact same thing.
Absolutely.
I know you know Jim Bundy, Professor
Yes.
Bundy, and him and I had a conversation just about, take that one more breath, one more breath in jiu-jitsu. But it also, what I mentioned was, helps you in negotiations when it's getting heated. Relax, take that one more breath, and that can help you sometimes.
Yeah,
sure.
very key.
Yes. So how about the military? I mean, you spent a lot of time in military. What did the military teach you just about life and also in business?
Well, the military taught me that structure, consistency, and training are the backbone of success. Whether in combat or in business, structure provides clarity. Everybody knows the mission, the standard, and their role in accomplishing it, and consistency builds trust. When people see the same discipline, effort, and accountability day after day, they know they can rely on you. And training is everything. In special forces, we trained until execution under pressure became second nature. That discipline translates directly to business. You don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to the level of your training. But here's the key. Training will give you the tools to accomplish anything if you find the right source, the right instructor, the right curriculum. And that's how elite units are built. And that's how great businesses are built. And that's what makes people successful. And with structure, consistency, and the right training, small teams can achieve extraordinary results, even against overwhelming odds.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. What's you mentioned leadership a few times. What's leadership to you?
From my perspective as a former Green Beret, leadership isn't about rank, titles, or authority. It's about developing people. And I think General Colin Powell said it best when he said, leadership is the art of accomplishing more than the science of management says is possible. And that rings true on the battlefield and in business because it's all about what you can do as a team. In special forces, my worth as a leader wasn't measured by what I could personally do. It was measured by what I could inspire, encourage, and influence my team to accomplish because they wanted to. A true leader doesn't push from behind. They create an environment where people step forward with purpose, ownership, and drive. And I think leadership's about developing people so they grow beyond what they believe possible, building trust and cohesion so a team will push through challenges together, giving clarity of mission and intent when empowering others to execute with initiative so that you're creating that vision for everybody. And then above all, I think it's caring deeply because as Theodore Roosevelt said, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And in the end, leadership's not about me. It's about the mission, the team, and the people, and the people I've always trained, mentored, and equipped to succeed are really what the leadership's all about. If they accomplish more than they thought possible, then I've led well.
Randy, I'm going to be honest. I love your perspectives, number one. And number two, I'm really stumped just for your coaching just today, just because of your talks. I love this. So this actually for a moment, let's take that. Tell me a little about your coaching, because I love your background, and I'm sure that really comes right into your coaching business. So tell me a little bit about your coaching business.
So what I do is I work with other business owners, primarily small business owners, but also some CEOs and other corporate individuals. And what I do is I work with them to kind of find out where they are and help them establish just some key principles that we always apply in the military. And a lot of it is just very basic. We focus on the idea from my background in special forces that it's all about being brilliant at the basics. You don't usually win with fancy tactics or, great moves. Just like jiu-jitsu, it's all about being ultra proficient with the basics. And so I try to get down to the basics with the business owners. And a lot of times, small business owners, they skip steps. And it's because they dive into whatever they're doing with a great deal of passion. And that passion sometimes allows them to leap over some key steps that you need in order to have a solid foundation for a successful business. And you go to an educational institution and they'll show you different things with theory and concepts, and you need to understand those. But a lot of times they don't provide you with an opportunity to, apply and test those concepts to make sure you're proficient at them. And so I try to bring that to the table for folks. And I kind of learned it from the idea when I started my business after being a government employee for 23 years. I had no concept of how to make money. I only knew how to, spend other people's money in pursuit of what I thought my mission to be. So I had to back up. And instead of trying to be a businessman, I had to realize that for me, it was a mission as a special forces soldier that I'd never done before. So I had to reframe my approach to how I was going to run my business. And I think I bring that to the table for a lot of business owners so that they can put their personality and their perspective into how they attack their business.
The answer. Who's an ideal candidate? So someone listening to the program right now, who's an ideal candidate to sign up for your coaching?
So anybody that has a small business and feels like, hey, maybe I'm struggling to grow, or I'm trapped by my business because I don't have systems in place and I don't have a methodology that gives me the freedom that I signed up for to have my own business. A lot of folks start their own business because they want to know what kind of idiot their boss is. And what happens is they dive in because of their technical abilities to do the job, and they wind up stuck as just an operator. So what I try to do is teach them how to move from being an operator to being a commander so that they learn how to lead the business and manage it as opposed to just working themselves day after day and feeling trapped.
How about jujitsu? I know I started my journey about 10 years ago. So I'm 55 now. I started like 45. So later in life, even. And when I walked in there, it's nerve wracking. You see all these people, kind of how do you coach people in jujitsu in terms of like getting them comfortable? How's your academy different? Tell me a little about your academy and what makes you special to help your clients, your jujitsu practitioners.
So what makes us special is we apply those systems from the very beginning, and there's a system for everything in our academy, and it comes down to how we greet people, how we welcome them, how we make them feel comfortable. Because sometimes as an instructor, you can easily forget the courage it takes to walk into a place where the whole idea is beating each other up and not see yourself as the person that's going to be the victim. So the first thing we do is let them know that it's not really how much I know or I can do, but it's how much I can show you and empower you with the techniques of jujitsu. The whole key is to get them to feel comfortable enough so that they know, like, and trust us to help them shape their lives through jujitsu. And once they get started, everybody's scared in the beginning, and people handle that in different ways. Some people will openly admit it. Other people will really put up a front and try to hide that. But they wouldn't be here if they didn't need something more that they're looking for. And jujitsu can bring that to everybody as long as I take the time to get to know you a little bit and find out why you're here and why you want that.
That answer. And, I will say to anybody who's listening to this who thinks about starting jujitsu, find the right academy. I went
That's
to a
key.
few. I won't mention anything good or bad, but I went to a few, and then I found Jim Bundy. And I can just tell the way you're talking, you're a lot like him, and vice versa. So anybody who wants to do jujitsu, my encouragement is find an academy who does exactly what you just said, because we need that. You walk in, it's scary, but I will tell you 10 years later, the best thing I ever did was sign up for jujitsu. I can say, it's helped me in business. It's helped me in life. It's helped me in everything. So take that chance for sure.
Totally agree. And I think that is very key, is that you find the right fit for you. And, for us, it's not about competing. It's not about competing with each other. It's really about applying that concept of team that I learned and found in special forces so that we're all getting better together. And my goal is to take the weakest, most insecure person on my team and make them a dynamic component of that team, because that's really what it's all about. Is it's not how good we are as individuals, it's how great we can be as a collective, as a community. And so that's what we try to do with everybody that comes through the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Last question I'll say on jujitsu. If you are smaller, you're a female, I'm not trying to be sexism, but you're a female or just a little more nervous or a little smaller individual, just tell me, because I know it's worked for me. How does positioning a jujitsu help you overcome, say, a bigger, stronger opponent?
Well, it's just like anything else. The devil's in the details. The details matter for everything. And the key here is that, first of all, the ladies are much better students. They
Mhm.
listen, they pay attention to detail, and they can't cheat. They can't use size and strength that they don't have. Guys come into it, and because we've always managed things, especially physical problems, with size and strength, that tends to be our fallback. And so we'll always default that until we move past it and learn enough technique. The ladies are great students because they do listen and they pay close attention to that. Guys won't ask for directions. They won't read the instructions. That's just our nature. And so it takes a little bit longer to get through to them. The ladies have a tougher start because they have to deal with overcoming that size and strength. But once they figure out that millimeters of positioning can make maximum impact in overcoming somebody else, it's really empowering for them. And once they grasp the concept, they tend to run with it very well. And I would say that ideally they discover the idea that it applies to everything and all kinds of things in life is that, and it's as simple as communication. One small word can make the difference in how you're perceived and how your communication comes across. Very important in business, in life. And it's especially key with those same ideas that millimeters matter in jujitsu.
No, I totally agree. And I will tell you, some of my toughest people I sparred with were females, because you're exactly right. They may struggle in the beginning, but then they take it and they run. One of Jim Bundy's instructors, Katie,
I've met Katie.
yes, she is amazing. She is amazing. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, Katie came to a seminar that I taught in Pennsylvania a few years back, and yeah, excellent student.
Yeah, yeah. She's went for a bronze belt test a few months ago. Randy, you would have been darn impressed, because I'll be honest, I was sitting there watching her and her partner, and I was just amazed for sure. But
No doubt.
she put the time and energy. For
Exactly.
you got to put a time, but then you really will learn it. So for sure. But what do you think is the number one most important strategy for growing your business?
I think probably the number one strategy is to understand the customer journey of your clients. Business like combat is an infinite game and warfare exists at many levels. Small business owners are the unconventional warriors of the business battlefield. So they have to take a small elite team approach to success and apply commando tactics for maximum effectiveness. Business growth is not a conventional market, you know, a mass assault per se. It's an unconventional warfare environment where trust, relationships, and force multiplication win the campaign. So, framed through the lens of unconventional warfare and how special forces teams train and build indigenous forces for guerrilla operations, my Going Commando Success Coaching provides a signature teaching model that focuses on that customer journey. And it's starting with awareness, that initial contact or infiltration into the area, and building a reliable partnership. And then the business journey, the customer becomes aware of your brand, your message, or your solution. And, as special forces team, we would infiltrate the area of operations and make first contact with local population to establish a presence without triggering hostility. The tactics align in unconventional warfare. It's rapport building, demonstrating respect for local culture, listening more than talking. And in business, you apply those same principles and concepts to marketing, visibility, and branding. So the key is to take to understand how to take your client through those steps and be there for them every step of the way. You start with the awareness, you get into the consideration of which is building rapport and vetting so that they understand why you're the solution, how you can help them, because the prospect's going to weigh your solution against alternatives. And, in unconventional warfare, the locals decide if a special forces team is trustworthy, capable, and aligned with their interests. And so SF commandos are required to build credibility and mutual trust. That's the key foundational component for business. And in business, the tactics are education, testimonials, case studies, whatever it takes to convince the client that you're the right person for them. And then you move forward to that next phase of purchase, commitment and training. And that's key whenever you're trying to interact with your customer. So I think it's essential to understand that correlation. And in order to be really effective at business, you got to understand how that customer journey applies to your set of clients or your target market.
I love an answer. So, sir, what's your motivation every day to get up and grow your business? What's your motivation?
So I started the business, when everything happened. I was in the military. I was getting near the end of my career. I was teaching military combatives based on Gracie Jiu Jitsu to my team and other teams in Army Special Forces. I developed the program for our unit at 5th Special Forces Group. And on that one morning, we were training jiu-jitsu with my team. And then the planes flew into the towers. It was 9/11, hit the Pentagon. One crashed in Pennsylvania. And so everything changed. So up until that point, I was on the downside of my operational career, and I was about to take a position running our isolation facility, and I would be training all the teams in military combatives. And then there was even discussion that I would retire shortly after that, and they would create a civilian instructor position for me to teach military combatives, primarily based on Gracie Jiu Jitsu. But that day, everything changed. And, we had waited a long time to have my son. He was born in 2000. Actually, yesterday was his birthday. And so he wasn't quite a year old. And, I had planned it because I was winding down and expecting to spend that time with him, be home for a change. And then in a moment, everything changed because of that attack on our country. We immediately locked down, spun up, people started preparing to deploy. We received missions right away, and everything started in motion to respond to that incident. And so almost a year later, after things, were established in more of a rhythm, I received my choice of assignments after the unit service in Afghanistan, and I chose to come to the University of Georgia to be the senior advisor at the military science department. And, looking at that, I was on my final run to retire. And I was looking at all the options, and all the options, there were a lot of opportunities for me to keep doing basically what I had been doing. My last operational assignment, I was in charge of our special projects section, which is like our plainclothes division. And so I would have, become a civilian contractor doing those kind of things. And there was a lot of money offered to do that. But the key piece of that meant that I would be gone and I would not be around for my son and to get to see him grow up. So I decided I wanted something that would allow me to have that time with my son, and opening a martial arts school and continuing to work on my passion for jujitsu fit the bill. And so over the years, I've had that time with him day in and day out, always had him here with me at the academy. And now he's my business partner. And, for the last, I think 7 years, especially, maybe longer now, we've worked together all day, every day here at the academy. So that's really my motivation, is I get to have that time with my son every day, spend it with him, see him grow up, see him to develop into, a black belt himself. He has his black belt in jiu-jitsu, and to continue to work with him, to teach him how to run the business. And we always have that time together. So that's really my motivation, is I get up every day because I get to spend that time with my son.
Yeah, I love that story. I had my daughter later in life. She's 15 now, so I was 40, and I agree with you. I try to make sure I always have time in my business to spend the time, because they grow up quick,
Super
as you
fast.
know. Yes, for sure. All right, so a couple quick questions about jiu-jitsu, just rapid fire answers. What's a white belt mistake you still make today?
A white belt mistake I still make today, I would say occasionally trying to force the move that I want instead of listening to what the person is telling me. And a nonverbal conversation as to how I should respond. And sometimes I still want what I want as opposed to listening to what my partner wants.
Yes, I agree. Do you think some people should never get a black belt?
Well, I think everybody should have the opportunity to pursue the journey. What I do believe is that everybody has a responsibility to achieve the standards, and the standards have to be there. And you have the responsibility to live up to that title of mastery. And it's more than just mastery of the art; it's mastery of things that are components of life. So, you've got to be a better person. And I think that some people are not willing to live up to that responsibility. And if they're not willing to do that, then I don't think they deserve the black belt. But, I think everybody has the chance, the opportunity, and should get the benefit of having great instruction and having somebody that will share that with them in order to give them the chance to discover the person they could be.
Yeah, no, I love that. What's one thing you wish every student would know on day one? jiu-jitsu student?
I think the one thing that I wish every student would know on day one is that we're here to help you. We're here to help you achieve your goals and to make sure that the success is yours. And we use jujitsu as a vehicle. The key to that is it's hard because when people come in, they don't know who to trust. They don't know how much to trust. And so they can't always be completely honest with you about where they are in their journey coming in and what they want to achieve. And so I wish they all understood right away that, hey, we're here to help you achieve what you really want and become the person you could be and you want to be.
Yeah, and let's kind of go back to something we said earlier. Again, to the jiu-jitsu students, pick the right academy. Be
So
honest
great.
with your instructor. And if it's just not a good fit, move on to the next one. Jim Bundy says a lot, hey, I'm not a fit for everybody, So find the right academy and be truthful with your instructors, and they will help you more than you'll ever know, for sure.
Right. And I absolutely agree with Jim on that. We have people that come in and we're not the right fit for them because they are seeking different goals. And we'll be the first ones to tell them, as long as they're honest with us and let us know that that is what they're looking for. And we will refer them somewhere else because we're not the perfect program for everybody. But, if you be honest with us, we'll help you find that to the best of our ability.
Yeah, definitely. My last couple funny questions. I know you grew up near Pittsburgh, so I know you have a little bit of insight on Pittsburgh. So, would you say it hurts a person born in Pittsburgh more to step on a Lego or watch the Steelers lose to the Browns?
Oh, I think that's an easy one. Anything that has to do with Steelers losing is just pain to the soul of folks up there.
Yes, I agree. All right, so you have to choose. Would you rather have Permane Brothers sandwiches or pierogies the rest of your life? Only one.
See, man, that would be a tough thing for me. The big challenge is right now, I'm on a keto diet, so the bread makes it hard. But I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those, based on what I know. And
yeah,
I think what I would have to do is I need to do like a prolonged taste test to make a serious assessment.
Yeah, I love that answer. Actually, it's one of the better answers I've heard. I've asked many people that. That's actually a really good answer. And last thing I'll ask you about Pittsburgh is just what's, I know you were on the outskirts of Pittsburgh. What's one thing you would say about Pittsburgh, good or bad? Just what comes to your mind when I say Pittsburgh?
So for me, I would say Pittsburgh is America, right? Because you got hardworking people that get up every day and they do the grind. It's famous for its steel industry, and you can't beat that. Growing up, my father, I grew up in West Virginia. My father worked away in Ohio at an iron foundry, and so I understand that. And I would visit during the summer. I would go spend some time with him, and I got to see a little bit of his work. But I know what that grind is every day, and that's the heart of America: is people that are willing to get up, work hard, and give it all, so that not for themselves, but so that their children and their family can have a better life. And that's what Pittsburgh says to me is it's America.
Yeah, I love the answer. I'm sure all Pittsburghers will love that answer.
Well, I don't want to get them upset with me.
Yeah, that's right. You definitely don't want to do that either. I agree with you. If you can go back, let's actually ask a two-part question. If you can go back in time to the first day you joined the military, what advice would you give yourself now?
Man, I think the advice I would give myself is shut up and listen. So, and I tried to do that. I think along the way, though, when you're young, you think you've got it all figured out. And so it takes you a minute to realize that you've walked into a hall of greatness. I was blessed to go into an environment to where, as a small town kid from West Virginia, I was surrounded by some of the greatest heroes of our time. And I had no idea that, in the beginning. And especially in Special Forces, we had guys that, were immense heroes, some of them Medal of Honor winners. And these were people that, you were around every day. And the importance of putting yourself into an environment and a circle of people to where, you've traded up. And that's really the best you can hope for. It's like buying the cheapest house in a wealthy neighborhood. And so I had the benefit of that. And I think if I would have realized just how much wealth of knowledge and experience was around me, I would have made sure I paid a lot more attention and listened a lot more.
Yeah, I love that advice. How about this? If you can go back in time and you start your business, day one of your business, what would you tell yourself now?
Oh, man, I would tell myself that it's okay and it's going to be okay, because I think most business owners sometimes on a daily business basis wake up and go, hey, is my business going to make it? Especially in the beginning. And for me, the hardest part was, like I said, I wasn't a businessman. I had to give myself a daily pep talk and remind myself that, you know what, you were a Green Beret, you helped overthrow countries, you could probably manage a business. But there are things that are thrown at you every minute of every day that indicate that I'm not sure you're going to make it. And so I think more than anything, I would tell myself is don't worry, it's going to be okay.
Yes, I love the answer. So Randy, how can people connect with you, especially if they want some coaching or if they're in your area about jiu-jitsu? How's the best way to connect with you, sir?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, Randy McElwee on LinkedIn, or you can go right to my coaching page at www.commandosuccess.com. Contact me through that, get with me. I'd be happy to talk about any business with anybody. I love business. And the best thing for me is to be able to work with somebody and help them grow their business, to benefit from a lot of the mistakes that I made and a lot of the things that I had to find out for myself and put into, like for me, I put everything into a curriculum. I learned that from Special Forces is whatever you do, you build it into a program to train other people. So over this past 20 years, I've been building that into an actual hard copy curriculum that I use to work with people so they have a structure to work through that and realize that it is going to be okay.
Excellent. Well, Randy, I want to thank you for your time. I love your insight. I love your coaching. And again, thank you for your service. And one day I think I just need to grab a beer and just listen to some of your military stories. I can listen to you probably for hours. So thank you so much for being on the show, first of all.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me. And if you make it down to Georgia, bring your gi, come on by. We'll talk about that beer. I don't drink anymore, but yeah. I'll sit and have some water, and we'll definitely swap stories. I'd like to hear about your military service as well, and definitely want to hear more about the business that you're involved in.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank the audience. If you learned something today, laugh, please share this podcast. Again, thank you so much, everybody. This has been another exciting episode of Steel City Growth. See you next time. That's a wrap on another episode of Steel City Growth. Thanks for joining us. For show notes and more, visit steelcitygrowth.live. Until next time.